Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you're having a great week. Welcome back to the weekly Meristem practice. Looking forward to jumping in to the concept of freedom for another week. Before I jump in, if you have any questions about the practice, check in the subscription below. You can find kind of the intro video that breaks down each step. Also, like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and feel free to leave a comment, and I would love to jump into any questions on our little video recording. With that being said, jumping in, here's the practice. Concept for this week. So for 3 weeks now, we've been doing freedom, and we're going to do freedom for one more week. The last couple weeks have just been prompts to kind of explore your inner and outer relationship to freedom. And this week I've given you a little bit more of a definition to work with. So the definition we're going to use as a lens this week is you are free when your actions stream from your own inner clarity and not from external influences, adherence to norms, or already developed habits. It is a recreated act out of your own inspiration every time. So what we're saying, in essence, is a free act is something that I have digested, I've taken in, I've had an inspiration in my thinking, and now I've gone and done something, and that thing that I've done is not because someone told me I should do it, it's not because I felt pressure for social norms to do it. It's something that I came to really clearly as being the right thing that I needed to do in this given moment, and I did it. And so the idea is that you try to do that with each action that you do over the course of the day. Now, there's just stuff that we kind of go through, that's rote, that's habit, etc., and that's great. We need that to keep going on our daily life. We can't always be thinking about free act, but it's good to just check in, particularly in key moments, and say, am I really acting out of myself, or am I not acting out of myself? And so that's the definition we're going to work with this week in freedom. The practice is creative thinking this week, and so we're going to explore what are some ways to better understand a situation that requires your action. How can you come to a free expression of the act? So basically, we're taking creative thinking as a practice and saying, my thinking can kind of be inhibited at times in and around why or what or how I should do something. And what we're saying here is, use your imagination, get creative around the why, so that thinking that is out of your creative initiative can inform how you step into the action that you want to complete. And so it's just challenging you to change your mindset around what you're doing and how you're doing it, so that you uninhibit yourself in the actions that you have to take. The value this week is I want to learn individual potential. So again, I'm showing up with kind of the desire, the interest to learn from myself and from everything, or how myself and interacting with the environment shift and change. All of that becomes interesting in this value. And my potential is based on kind of my thirst and interest to learn. And so what we're going to practice within that value is, what can you learn about an act to complete it with the least amount of inner weight afterwards? So what are we asking? We're saying, sometimes I do something and I walk away and I feel heavier, or I feel ashamed, or I feel scared as a result of having done something. Or I do an act and I feel lighter, I feel happier, I feel less inhibited. And so what we're trying to do is learn from the things that we're doing, and kind of measure, hey, is this creating more or less weight that I'm pulling around afterwards? And how can I kind of choose to pick the processing and the acts that make me feel less weight afterwards, or less inhibited? Or how can I make sure that the way in which I'm engaging the act that I do leaves me freer and uninhibited afterwards? And so these are the three things: the concept, the definition of freedom that we're working with, the practice, creative thinking in and around the expression of freedom and the value. What do I carry around with me? How do I engage in a way that I don't have to carry a lot around after acting? Great, so to wrap up, we're going to jump to the infographic. And just as a reminder, kind of looking at the things we are going to observe for ourselves this week. So from, do I notice is an act coming out of my internal freedom, inner clarity, the source of the drive, or from habits, norms, and external pressures coming from outside of myself? When I act, does it feel light? Does it feel connected? Does it feel aligned? Or do I feel heavy? Do I feel, inhibited after the fact? So these are the measures that you can use to kind of weigh, hey, was that a free act, or am I carrying some baggage around as a result of what I did? We want to then monitor this. So notice, throughout the course of the day, am I, walking around heavier or lighter? And does that have to do with my actions or just kind of what's going on around? And can I separate myself from that external pressure to allow myself to be a little bit lighter? And then finally, using my creative thinking around all of these things so that I can find the pathways that lead to lightheartedness, a more uninhibited way of going about what I have to do on a daily basis. And so just bringing it back, kind of this is the last week of freedom, and living with this concept of freedom being any time that I have taken in the world, digested it, processed it, come to inner clarity around that, and then acted out of that inner clarity. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're striving for in terms of freedom. And that looks like recreating each time. So, if I take on a habit like brushing my teeth every day, and I don't recreate the free act each time I go and brush my teeth, I'm doing it out of a habit, which is not from freedom. So each time if I go brush my teeth, I consider and think, why am I brushing my teeth? And I make that kind of an inner habit so that I'm driven to brush my teeth, of my own volition, and then I feel lighter and I feel better about myself as having brushed my teeth. And finally, the kind of measure is the source from inside yourself, or is the source pressuring you from externally? And how can I do that as effectively as possible? And so this is the practice for the week. And as a reminder, this is something I do for myself. Hopefully me doing it leads to change around me, leads to greater change for the people that we work with, et cetera, et cetera. Those ripples go out. And this is what the Marison Weekly Practice is about. So let's go forward and awaken the possible.